Hey everyone, I'm glad that I finally found the time and the motivation to make a video again. As some of you know from Instagram, I just received the Wild Unkown Tarot. If you saw me on IGTV, I also already talked about some of the cards of it, but I figured it deserves to be a little longer, more full-fledged, and basically I want to talk to you about my favorite cards from the deck and sort of reflect on their imagery and their symbolism. Because whereas I find the booklet that comes with it very beautiful, like it's beautifully made, I still sometimes miss a little bit of a bow that ties it all together, because sometimes it only has the classical meanings and doesn't refer to the imagery of the cards. And that's basically what I want to do in this video, kind of tie it all together. So I'll talk more about that later and give you an example later, so stick with me here. Down below in the index, you can also jump to whatever card tickles your fancy, and if you find one particularly interesting, you can just click the time mark and it'll bring you there to me talking about it. Now I want to start this off with the Fool, because as I was going through the deck, I had this thought, the Fool's journey basically means that the Fool, the card 0, is the one who goes through all of the other cards in the deck. And honestly, at first I couldn't quite vibe with this Fool, because it has a great innocence to it, and it just seemed a little bit too helpless to me, I felt like it needed my protection. And with other Fools, you sort of see they have a little bit of control of their lives. They're just a little nuts. But I came to love this card very much because to me, it's like a fable. Did you ever have a children's book that talked about a little baby animal, a cute baby animal like a baby duck, a baby giraffe, a baby mole, a baby wolf, and he goes through the world and talks to all these different animals and kind of explores what others do, He goes at them with a beginner's mindset. He goes to a horse and asks, why do you have cloppy feet? And the horse says, it's so I have protection for my skin because it needs horseshoes so it doesn't hurt so much. Or he goes to a mole and asks it why it's digging so many tunnels, and the mole kind of reflects on why it does that. And I feel like this deck sort of has that same vibe where you go through it and you learn from the animals as the little Fool. So I just wanted to share that to start this off. Now, let's start with a little bit of a heavy hitter, one of my favorites. When I first saw this card, I thought it was quite silly. Like, it's a lion holding a rose in its mouth. I was like, what is this lion doing? Is it trying to, romance? And that's the thing. It is. Because the lion in the strength card always stands for your fears, your suppressed emotions, everything that is inside of you and may run wild. It leads to behaviors you cannot control, and it triggers things in you that you cannot fathom and cannot understand. And the strength card is all about asking the why, and asking why you have certain behaviors, why you have certain patterns or excuses, anything that is holding you up. And I sort of see it as like a peace offering. It has the infinity symbol because there's so much opportunity once you start understanding the why of your behavior. And the rose, to me, just sort of signifies that it's ready to be loved and it wants to be loved by you. This especially goes for darker aspects of the psyche, of course. And yeah, then you have the sun at the top that sort of shows, okay, it's coming to light now. Everything is coming to light and is ready to be accepted and integrated and loved by you, basically. So that's why in the beginning I didn't get the card, but now I totally do. Now, here's a combo that the ones who saw my IGTV video will already know. The Sun and Judgment. Let me talk about the Sun first. Usually, the Sun to me is sort of the new worldview that you achieved through reflection. It comes right after the Moon, right after the tough journey of the major arcana, all of the cards that came before it. This is card 19, so there have been 18 tough cards before it. And you sort of gain a new understanding of the world. You see the world in a new light, literally, the light of the sun. And what I love about this is that it has these 4 doves kind of going in all directions as if they were messengers from this new world. So with the Judgment card, you have that messenger arriving, basically, or one of them, and bringing light to the darkness, and everything in the darkness is even striving towards that light. So I feel like these 2 cards go together so beautifully. And it's about listening to the messages and the magical happenings in reality. Seeing that magic doesn't just happen in your mind, in the depths of your psyche, and sort of on this metaphysical level, but also in the very physical world. And listening to these messages and giving them space and striving towards them is what these 2 cards have as their message, I think. So before I talk about the pip cards, which are the number cards, 1 through 10 wands, 1 through 10 cups, I want to tell you a little bit about the interesting story of how I got this deck. Because when I first saw it, I knew it was the hot shit on the internet. Everybody has this deck. It's the bestseller on Amazon. And I didn't feel a connection to it. I saw the images and I just didn't feel like I would be able to read them very well in the beginning of my journey, or at that point of my journey. I didn't feel like they would give me anything, because I always, other than my Crowley Tarot, love to have pip cards that actually have a descriptive picture. And when I looked at these pip cards, I was like, it's just 7 wands, it's just 5 cups, but it's not, I didn't take a good look at the deck, and I'm amazed by how well these pip cards read. And it wasn't until I had a reading with Kellyanne Maddox where she used this deck that I sort of realized there's more to it and there's more that I can explore. So for the past 2 months, I've been thinking about getting it very intensely. And now I finally did, because I felt like the time was there. Let me give you an example of the whole pip card deal. First of all, we have the 7 of Wands. I really love this card because it has so many layers. You see, the 7 of Wands is about defending your position in a lot of decks. It's about pushing your will onto others also, partly, and keeping your position at the top. And as you can see in this card, all of the white new branches are hiding from the black one that is burning. So you can read this in a positive way and say you are shining your light on everyone, and you are sort of being the light in the darkness, but at the same time, that sort of sometimes scares people. Like, speaking your truth can scare people. And especially when you start pushing it onto them and trying to push your will, your opinion, your advice on other people, that's when they really start to kind of bend away and lean out, and take their distance from you. I'm sorry if the lighting is a little crazy, by the way. I'm filming this at 7 in the morning, so there's a lot of light. So yes, that's why I love this card, because it's a reminder not to push yourself onto others, but at the same time, don't let the fear of others deter you from putting your message out there. Just don't push it on people. Don't push it on people. So, and then we have the Six of Cups, which is always a favorite, you know. We all love that nostalgia, that good dose of childhood reflection and going back to the roots. And that's what I love about this card. It talks about the roots. If you look at the roots right here, they are this rainbow color sort of bleeding into the earth. I just love the imagery of a tree with roots. As a child, whenever I drew a tree, and this is sort of crazy, I always drew it with the roots. And I didn't think it was pretty as a child. I just thought it was necessary because it was true. And that's sort of weird when I think about it now. And it's so funny that the Six of Cups, which is all about childhood memories and nostalgia, would have this association and would have this imagery, because that was a very central image of my childhood and of my understanding of the natural world, basically. I just love the idea that the roots, the unseen, unfathomable, sort of labyrinth-esque structure is what draws from the earth and what draws the nutrients and the ideas that you soak up in the course of your life and make it into something manifest. They make it into your physical appearance, your mind, the way you show yourself to other people, the way you show yourself to yourself. And that's what the pine tree and its roots sort of embody for me. The unseen parts of you and the visible parts, and how they interact with each other, you know, the above ground world and the underworld. So yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites. Now, in the next card, I want to show you an example of why I don't think the booklet is great all the time. The Hanged Man. As you can see, it's a flying fox. You also call it a fruit bat. But it's not quite a bat. A bat is a little different. You know, they have mushed in faces, they barely have ears, and they barely have eyes, not like the flying foxes that have a very defined, almost dog-like face. That's why in Germany we call them flying dogs, actually. And what I love about this is that the Hanged Man is all about new perspectives, about taking a different mindset, seeing the world differently. And because it has that whole bat association, it makes me think of them using a completely different sense from us, you know, because they use sonic waves in order to find obstacles and determine where they are, and sort of like bounce out sound waves, and when they come back in, they can tell where they shouldn't go. And that's sort of the embodiment of a different perspective, you know, using a different mindset, a different sense, putting on a different hat, basically, and seeing a situation from completely new eyes. I also feel like the ears, obviously, the pointed big ears and the red eyes also speak to this heightened senses idea. And that goes very well with the whole sonic wave thing, I think. But, and that's why I'm not such a big fan of this book. In the booklet, I will just read it to you real quick what it says. It's a little bit more general, you know. It simply says, many people talk about the art of letting go, but what does it really mean? How do you achieve it? The Hanged Man has all the answers. He's the master of non-attachment. This card implies there's a sacrifice or a difficult or painful situation coming up in your life. Though you naturally want to resist and struggle through it, be more like the Hanged Man. Find stillness, open your eyes, and use this new perspective to learn something. You're stuck here either way. So, I mean, it's a beautiful interpretation, but I don't quite see the whole sacrificial side of things with this fruit bat. Wait, oops, I picked up the wrong card, sorry. There, with the fruit bat. That's the next card, so you already got a little preview. So yeah, that's why I don't love what the book says. Since I already spoiled you, let's go right to the next card, the Wheel of Fortune. Fun fact, this is the only card in the deck that displays a waxing moon, as far as I've seen. I've looked through it multiple times, and I was always like, waning moon, waning moon, waning moon. Where's a waxing moon? Like, there's at least 10, 15 cards maybe that have a moon on them. And besides the one that show a full moon, it's most of the time a waning moon. So this is one of the only ones that have a waxing one, or it is the only card that has a waxing moon. Now, what I love about this Wheel of Fortune is that it has that ancestral implication for me. It's not just the path of life, you know, the turning wheel of fate, of anything can happen to you, just accept what happens. No, it's much more than that, because it is basically made by human hands, it seems like. It has a bunch of branches and a bunch of colorful ribbons tied to it. And first that made me think of hand fasting, you know, that sort of pagan wedding where your hands get hand fasted with ribbons as a sign of being connected. And I feel like this sort of has that vibe of ritual and your ancestors sort of building this wheel and everybody contributing to it. Some people with yellow ribbons, others with blue ones, some with lighter branches, some with darker branches. It kind of gives a lot of agency to the reader, I feel like. It gives you that feeling that you can contribute, that you are not just a victim of time or a victim of fate, but rather you can tie your own ribbons and your own branches to this massive construct that was created by your ancestors, the people that came before you and everybody that is around you now. And together building a legacy that isn't about a single person, but about an idea of philosophy, the whole, you know, kind of the interconnectedness of all people and of all experiences. I feel like that's all contained in this card. So I really love it. Now this is going to be a short one, the Chariot. All I really want to say about this card, I love how it all aligns here. You have the sun, which kind of is the universal energy. Then you have the moon, as you can see, it's a waning one again. Standing for the intention, sort of located where the third eye would be. And then you have the pentacle, which stands for the manifestation side of things and the physical realm. And how all of these energies just make a straight line. I really love it. So, great card. Another quick one, the Daughter of Cups. I haven't shown you any of the court cards yet. All I really want to say about it is that I love that the shadow that the little duckling casts is rainbowy. So I feel like it has a very strong meaning of accepting your shadowy sides and accepting your weaknesses and making them your strengths, basically, by emotionally engaging with them and paying attention to them, because she's sort of looking at her own shadow. And that alone makes it colorful and makes it seen and loved, possibly. So, yeah. I keep winking. Why do I keep winking? Like, Temperance. I love it. In the Rider-Waite decks, Temperance is often displayed as a woman sort of transferring water from one cup into another. And I feel like that doesn't quite go into the alchemical depths of this card. And that's what I really see here and in the Crowley Tarot, because you have the water and the fire coming together to form something new. And one of the interpretations that I love of this card, I actually haven't read the little blurb in the book, so I don't know what the book says, but to me, it is very much about the water as the emotion, as the feeling, as the sort of unfathomable inside you, and the fire as the creative self-expression of these emotions. And taken together, you create something completely new. If you combine emotions with creativity, you have that abundant self-expression and intense self-expression that kind of gives you something to analyze. If you make a piece of art, it has a very profound meaning, and it's more than just emotion plus creativity. It's bigger than the sum of its parts, which is what alchemy is all about. So I love that this card shows that here. Now a little bonus card in the truest sense of the word. I can't even. Whenever I see this card, I have to think of Super Mario because, you know, the invincibility star, whenever you collected it, or Kirby also, I think, had the same star. Either way, yeah, I don't think it was Super Mario. It does make me think of the stars in Super Mario, like Mario Party and everything. But I think in Kirby, you had the star that you can collect. It makes you invincible to everything. And you just run through the world, run through your enemies. Nobody can hurt you. And that's what I love about this card. It feels like when I draw it, I just collect that invincibility for a little while at least. So yeah. Now the last two cards that I want to talk about are the Ace of Wands and the Daughter of Wands. The Ace of Wands, before this video, I drew a card and I was asking which card wanted to be in the video that I might have not included already. And it was the Ace of Wands. And the Ace of Wands is actually one of the reasons I bought this deck. I saw that card and I was just wowed because, just look at it. I can't even describe it with words. There's no words. And then you have the Daughter of Wands sort of wrapping herself around the Ace of Wands, the budding branch that is surrounded with fire energy and with creativity and willpower. And as a little bonus, she also forms an infinity symbol. So I thought that was really cool as well, because that kind of gives her that magician feel, you know, you can achieve anything if everything is connected. You know, if you're connected to the above and the below, then you will achieve great things. So that's why I love the Daughter of Wands. In general, the wand family being snakes, I'm all over that. All over it. And just last card, I swear I'll stop soon. I love that the Two of Wands literally makes a pathway. Whereas with the Two of Swords, I don't have that handy right now, but the swords are crossed like in any traditional deck. And with this Two of Wands, you have, you know, that sort of rainbow brick road. And at first I didn't even realize it, you know, it was just two wands, but then I looked at it closely and yeah, it's just a pathway going into the distance. That's what it sort of describes. And I just love that. Okay. As you can see, I'm very impassioned about this deck, which I totally didn't see coming. I didn't see it coming, no. I also have some exciting news, because I created a web page that you can look at that lists all of my reading options. Some of them are custom readings, so you can just give me your issue and I will create a spread for you. Others are pre-made readings about self-love, about self-care. If you want a reading, just email me. The address is on the webpage, and I'd be happy to read for any of you. Now, have fun, have a great time, channel that lion. He wants to be loved. He's bringing you a rose. I'm sorry, I find this card so funny. Anyways, have a great time. I love you, and I'll see you all next time.